The ship floated quietly in the dark space. It was old and broken, no longer useful to its owners. The Nexer were done with it. These tall, blue-skinned aliens stood on their main ship, looking at the one they were leaving behind. "What about the defective pet?" asked Krell, the youngest crew member. Captain Maz turned his large black eyes toward the small cage on the deck. Inside was a tiny creature that looked like a cat, but with fur that shimmered like starlight. Its most striking feature was its golden eyes. They glowed even in the dim light of the ship. "Chain it to the hull," Captain Maz said coldly. "It is worthless with those eyes. True Lunari have blue eyes. This one is flawed." The baby Lunari shivered in its cage. Though it was very young, it understood what was happening. Its species was born with the ability to sense thoughts and feelings. Right now, all it felt was hatred and disgust from the Nexer. Two crew members grabbed the cage. The small creature tried to back away, pressing itself against the bars. One of the Nexer laughed at its fear. "Look how pathetic it is," he said. "The dealer claimed Lunari were intelligent and powerful. This one can barely stand." They took the cage to an airlock that connected to the old ship. The baby Lunari cried out, a sound somewhere between a kitten's mew and a child's sob. The Nexer ignored it. Outside, in the cold of space, they attached a chain to the collar around the Lunari's neck. The chain was strong and made of metal that would not break easily. The other end they bolted to the hull of the abandoned ship. The baby Lunari's fur puffed out, creating a thin shield of energy around its body. This natural defense would keep it alive in space, but not forever. In a few days, it would run out of strength. "It will die soon enough," Captain Maz said, watching from the view screen. A fitting end for something so useless. The Nexer's main ship pulled away, leaving the old vessel behind. Soon it was just a dot in the distance, and then it was gone. Alone in the emptiness of space, the baby Lunari huddled against the cold metal of the ship. Its golden eyes looked out at the stars. It was hungry and scared. The chain was heavy, and the collar hurt its neck. The abandoned ship had no power. It drifted slowly through space, carried by the gentle currents between stars. The ship moved further and further from the busy space lanes, where other ships might pass by. The baby Lunari tried to call out with its mind. Its kind could send thoughts across great distances, but it was too young to reach very far. Its mental cries faded into the vast darkness, unheard. Days passed. The baby Lunari grew weaker. Its fur, once bright and shiny, now looked dull. The shield of energy around it flickered like a dying light. It slept most of the time now, saving what little strength it had left. Then, in its sleep, it felt something new. A presence. Another ship was coming closer. The baby Lunari lifted its head, golden eyes opening wide. It gathered its remaining energy and sent out one more desperate call. "Asterisk help. Please help asterisk." The message was weak, just a faint whisper in the void. The baby Lunari didn't know if anyone could hear it. It didn't know if the approaching ship carried friends or more creatures like the Nexer. But for the first time since being abandoned, the small creature felt something it had almost forgotten. Hope. The ship was getting closer now. The baby Lunari could see lights blinking on its hull. It tried to stand up, the heavy chain rattling against the ship. Its legs were shaky, but it managed to rise. With all the strength it had left, the baby Lunari sent out one final thought. "Asterisk, I am here. I am alive. Please find me asterisk." Stellar Haven was a small human outpost at the edge of space. It was not fancy or big, but it was home to about 300 people. Most of them worked in mining, trading, or fixing ships. Song Jiho's repair shop sat at the far end of the main dock. It was easy to spot with its bright red door and the hand-painted sign that read, "Jiho's Fixes. If it's broken, we can fix it." Inside, Jiho was working on an old engine. His hands were black with oil, and his face had streaks of dirt. But his eyes were focused and calm. He was 35 years old, with short black hair that stuck up in all directions and a small scar above his right eyebrow. "Hand me that wrench, Tango," Jiho said to the small robot that hovered near his shoulder. Tango beeped and zoomed to the toolbox. It picked up a wrench with its tiny metal arm and brought it back to Jiho. "Thanks, buddy," Jiho said with a smile. People at the outpost called Jiho the Wizard because he could fix almost anything. Broken engines, dead computers, busted air filters. Jiho made them all work again. Some said he had magic in his fingers. But Jiho was also known for keeping to himself. He lived alone in the small apartment above his shop with only Tango for company. He rarely joined the gatherings at the outpost's only bar, the Cosmic Mug. What most people didn't know was that Jiho came to Stellar Haven 5 years ago after losing his family in an accident on Earth. He still kept a small photo of his wife and daughter in his pocket. Sometimes, late at night, he would look at it and cry. That morning, as Jiho finished fixing the engine, his computer screen blinked with a new message. It was an alert from the outpost's main office. "Attention all repair crews." The message read, "Sensors have detected a derelict ship drifting near Sector 7. Any crew that investigates gets first claim on salvage rights." Jiho read the message twice. Sector 7 was far from the regular space lanes. It was strange for a ship to be there. "What do you think, Tango?" Joe asked. "Should we check it out?" Tango spun in circles, beeping excitedly. "Yeah, I think so too," Jiho said. "We could use some extra parts." Jiho cleaned his hands and face, then packed his tools. He also grabbed some emergency supplies, just in case. "Kim Do-hee to Jiho's shop," his comm unit buzzed. Jiho pressed the answer button. "Jiho here. Did you see the alert?" Do-hee asked. She was the outpost's safety officer, always by the book and serious about rules. "Yes," Jiho said. "I'm preparing to check it out." "Alone?" Do-hee sounded worried. "You should wait for backup." "My ship is fastest," Jiho said. "And if there's good salvage, I want to get there first." Do-hee sighed. "Just be careful. Follow protocol. No risks." "When do I ever take risks?" Jiho joked. "All the time," Do-hee said, but there was a smile in her voice. Jiho ended the call and headed to the dock where his ship was parked. The second chance was small but fast. Jiho had rebuilt it from scraps, adding his own improvements. As he climbed into the pilot's seat, Jiho felt something strange, like a tug in his mind. It was so faint, he thought he imagined it. Tango settled into its charging station as Jiho started the engines. "Flight plan locked," said the outpost's control tower. "Safe travels, Wizard." The second chance lifted off smoothly. Once clear of the outpost, Jiho pushed the throttle forward. The stars stretched into lines as the ship jumped to speed. But as they flew toward Sector 7, that strange feeling came back stronger. It felt like someone calling for help, but not with words. Jiho shook his head, trying to clear it. "Probably just tired," he muttered to himself. Little did he know that what he felt was real, and it was about to change his life forever. The second chance slowed as it reached Sector A. Jiho looked through the front window and saw the abandoned ship floating in the darkness. It was bigger than he expected, with a strange design he didn't recognize. "Scan complete," said the ship's computer. "No life signs detected inside the vessel. Hull is damaged but stable." Jiho frowned. The pulling feeling in his mind was stronger now. It felt like someone crying for help. "Are you sure there's no one alive on that ship?" he asked the computer. "No life signs detected inside," the computer repeated. "Exterior scan shows. Wait, there is something on the outer hull." Jiho leaned forward. "Show me." The screen zoomed in on a small shape clinging to the side of the abandoned ship. It looked like a tiny animal. "What is that?" Jiho whispered. The tugging in his mind became urgent, almost painful. He made a quick decision. "Prepare my EVA suit. I'm going out there. Tango beeped nervously as Jiho put on his spacesuit. The small robot didn't like when Jiho left the ship. I'll be fine, buddy, Jiho said, patting Tango's metal head. Keep the engines running, just in case. Jiho stepped into the airlock. The door closed behind him, and the air hissed out. Then the outer door opened, and he was in space. Using his suit's small jets, Jiho flew carefully toward the abandoned ship. As he got closer, he could see the small shape more clearly. It was some kind of animal, with fur that looked like starlight. It was chained to the hull. Who would do such a thing? Jiho said to himself, feeling angry. When he was just a few meters away, the creature lifted its head. Jiho gasped. It had the most beautiful golden eyes he had ever seen. They seemed to glow in the darkness of space. The creature looked at him, and suddenly Jiho's mind was filled with feelings that weren't his own. Fear, pain, hunger, and a desperate hope. You're telepathic, Jiho whispered in awe. He moved closer, trying to send calming thoughts. Asterisk won't hurt you. I'm here to help Asterisk. The creature's eyes widened. It tried to stand but was too weak. Jiho reached the hull and attached his magnetic boots to the surface. He knelt next to the small animal. Up close, he could see it was in bad shape. Its fur was dull, and it was much too thin. The metal collar around its neck had rubbed the fur away, leaving raw skin. Who did this to you? Joe asked softly. Images flashed in his mind. Tall blue aliens with cold black eyes, laughter as they chained the small creature to the ship, then darkness and loneliness. Jiho felt tears in his eyes. I'm going to get you out of here. He pulled a laser cutter from his tool belt. Carefully, he cut through the chain close to the ship's hull. The creature watched him with those golden eyes, too weak to move. When the chain was cut, Jiho gently picked up the small animal. It weighed almost nothing. He cradled it against his chest, careful not to touch the collar or the remaining bit of chain. I got him out, he said. You're safe. The creature closed its eyes and sent one more thought to Jiho. Gratitude, so pure and strong it made his chest tight. Jiho carried the animal back to his ship. Inside the airlock, he waited for the air to return before taking off his helmet. Tango zoomed over, curious about what Jiho was carrying. Easy, Tango, Jiho said. This is, well, I don't know what it is, but it needs our help. He placed the creature on his bunk and covered it with a soft blanket. Its breathing was shallow, but steady. Computer, scan this animal. Tell me what it is and what it needs. The computer was quiet for a moment as it worked. Species identified. Lunari, extremely rare telepathic feline native to the Cygnus system. Status, critically endangered. This specimen is juvenile, severely malnourished, and dehydrated. Jiho looked down at the small Lunari. Don't worry, he promised. I'll take care of you. The Lunari opened its golden eyes once more, looking directly at Jiho. And for the first time in years, Jiho felt something new in his heart. Purpose. Jiho's shop was quiet except for the soft humming of machines. It had been 3 days since he brought the Lunari home. 3 days of worry and hope. The small creature lay on a soft bed Jiho had made from old blankets. It had barely moved since they arrived, but its breathing was stronger now. Come on, little one, Jiho said softly. You need to eat something. He held a small bowl of warm soup close to the Lunari's nose. The golden eyes opened slowly, and the Lunari sniffed the soup. Jiho had spent hours reading about Lunari on his computer. They were very rare. Most people thought they were just stories. The computer said they needed special food, but Jiho didn't have any. He had to guess what might work. The Lunari lifted its head weakly and took a small lick of the soup. Then another. That's it, Jiho said, smiling. Good job. As the Lunari ate, Jiho gently stroked its soft fur. The collar was still around its neck. Jiho had tried to remove it, but it was locked with some kind of alien technology he didn't understand. He had managed to file down the rough edges so it wouldn't hurt anymore. "You need a name," Geo said. "I can't just call you the Lunari forever." The creature looked up at him with those amazing golden eyes. Geo felt a gentle touch in his mind, like a question. "How about Navi?" Geo suggested. "It means butterfly in my language, because you're going to change and grow, just like a butterfly." The Lunari, Nabi, blinked slowly. Geo felt a warm feeling of agreement in his mind. Just then, the door to the shop buzzed. Geo quickly covered Nabi with a light blanket. "Coming," he called, and went to open the door. Kim Do-hee stood there, looking official in her safety officer uniform. "I need your report on the abandoned ship," she said, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. "You were supposed to file it yesterday." "Sorry," Geo said. "I've been busy." Do-hee raised an eyebrow. "Busy with what? You haven't left your shop in 3 days. People are talking." Before Geo could answer, a small sound came from behind him. Do-hee pushed past him and saw the blanket moving. "What is that?" she asked, reaching for the blanket. Geo tried to stop her, but it was too late. Do-hee pulled the blanket away and gasped when she saw Navi. Is that a Lunari?" she whispered. "Yes," Geo admitted. "I found it chained to the hull of that ship. Someone left it there to die." Do-hee shook her head. "This is bad, Geo. Really bad. Lunari are protected under the Galactic Treaty. There are strict rules about who can keep them." "I'm not keeping it," Geo said quickly. "I'm just helping it get better." Do-hee sighed. "You have to turn it over to the Galactic Council. They'll take it to a sanctuary." "No," Geo said, more forcefully than he meant to. "I mean, it's too weak to move right now. And I'm not sure I trust the Council." Nabi made a small noise and tried to stand up. Its legs were shaky, but it managed to walk a few steps toward Geo. Then it sat down by his feet and looked up at Do-hee. Do-hee's stern expression softened a little. "It seems to trust you." "We have a connection," Geo explained. "Lunari are telepathic. Nabi can share feelings with me." As if to prove his point, Nabi sent a gentle wave of warmth toward both humans. Do-hee's eyes widened in surprise. "Did you feel that?" Geo asked. Do-hee nodded slowly. "But that doesn't change the rules, Geo. I should report this." Geo knelt down and picked up Nabi, holding the small creature close to his chest. "Please, Do-hee, just give me some time. Whoever did this might come looking for Nabi. The Council might not be able to protect her." Do-hee looked at them for a long moment. Then she sighed again. 3 days, she said finally. "I'll give you 3 days to come up with a proper plan. But if anyone asks, I know nothing about this." "Thank you," Geo said, relieved. After Do-hee left, Geo sat down with Nabi on his lap. The small Lunari was getting stronger. Its fur was beginning to shine again. "Don't worry," Geo whispered. "I won't let anyone take you away." Nabi looked up at him and blinked slowly. In Geo's mind, he felt something new from the Lunari. Not just gratitude or trust, but something deeper. Something like love. 5 days had passed since Geo found Nabi. The little Lunari was much stronger now. She ate well and played with Tango, who had become her friend. Nabi's fur shone like stars again, and her golden eyes were bright and alert. Geo had removed the workshop sign and kept the doors locked. He told everyone he was working on a big project and needed no visitors. Only Do-hee knew the truth, and she had kept her word. She hadn't reported Nabi to anyone. That morning, Geo sat at his workbench fixing a small engine. Nabi lay nearby, watching him work. Their mental bond had grown stronger. Geo could now understand many of Nabi's thoughts, not just her feelings. "Hand me that small wrench, please," Geo said to Tango. Before the robot could move, Nabi sent a thought to Geo. *Danger coming *. Jiho looked up. What kind of danger? Nabi's ears flattened against her head. She sent Jiho an image of tall blue aliens with cold black eyes. The Nexer. Are you sure? Jiho felt his heart beat faster. Nabi nodded. In her mind, she could feel them getting closer. Jiho quickly put down his tools and went to his computer. He checked the outpost's incoming ship log. There it was. A Nexer trading vessel had asked for permission to dock. It would arrive in 2 hours. This is bad, Jiho muttered. His comm unit buzzed. It was Doi. Jiho, we need to talk, she said, her voice tight with worry. Right now. 10 minutes later, Doi sat in Jiho's small kitchen. Her face was pale. A Nexer ship is coming, she said. They say they're here to trade, but I don't believe them. They asked me if we had found any lost property in this sector. Did you tell them about Nabi? Jiho asked. Of course not, Doi said, looking hurt. But back from Dock 3 might have said something. He saw you bringing something small onto your ship when you returned. Jiho cursed under his breath. Back was known for talking too much. We have to get Nabi away from here, he said. Doi nodded. I thought you'd say that. That's why I brought this. She handed him a small data stick. It's a map to a place called Heavenwood. My cousin works with a group that helps endangered species. They can protect Nabi. Jiho took the data stick gratefully. Thank you, Doi. Don't thank me yet, she said. Getting there won't be easy. And you'll need to leave soon. The Nexar won't waste time once they dock. Jiho looked around his shop. This had been his home for 5 years. He had built a life here. But when he looked at Nabi, curled up on her blanket, he knew what he had to do. I'll start packing, he said. As Jiho gathered supplies, Doi helped check his ship. They worked fast, knowing time was short. Take extra fuel cells, Doi advised. The route to Havenwood goes through some empty sectors. Nabi watched them work, understanding more than they knew. She could feel Jiho's worry, but also his determination. He was giving up everything for her. When the ship was ready, Jiho took one last look around his shop. He couldn't take much with him. Just some tools, clothes, and food. And the photo of his family. The Nexer ship will dock in 30 minutes, Doi said, checking her watch. You should go now, while the main bay is busy with the morning shipments. Jiho nodded. He picked up Nabi and held her close, ready for another adventure. Nabi pressed her head against his chest. Asterisk together, asterisk. Just then, Jiho's computer beeped with an alert. A message flashed on the screen. AT&T on all stations. Report any sightings of ALOUNARI with golden eyes. Substantial reward OFFERED NEXAR trade guild. Jiho and Doi looked at each other. They're definitely here for Nabi, Doi said. Go. Now. Jiho gave Doi a quick hug. Thank you for everything. Just stay safe, she said, and take care of that little one. Jiho put Nabi in a small carrier he had made. Tango beeped sadly. Sorry, buddy, Jiho said. You have to stay here. You'll be happier with Doi. With one last look at the life he was leaving behind, Jiho stepped out the back door and hurried toward the ship bay. The race to stay ahead of the Nexar had begun. Jiho kept his head down as he walked quickly through the back halls of the outpost. Nabi was quiet in her carrier. She understood they needed to be silent. The ship bay was busy. Workers loaded boxes onto ships. Pilots checked their machines. No one paid much attention to Jiho as he hurried to the second chance. Just as he reached his ship, a loud announcement came over the speakers. Attention. Nexar trade vessel Krell's Pride is docked at Bay 1. All officials report for greeting. Perfect timing, Jiho muttered. While everyone would be busy with the Nexar ship, he could slip away unnoticed. Jiho opened the door to his ship and placed Nabi's carrier inside. Then he quickly went through the startup checks. Engines ready, he said to himself. Fuel cells full. Navigation system online. Nabi sent him a feeling of worry. Joe looked out the window and saw why. A group of Nexer had entered the ship bay. They weren't waiting for the official greeting. They were already searching. One of the tall, blue-skinned aliens pointed toward Jiho's ship. 3 others started walking that way. "Time to go," Jiho said. He hit the launch button without waiting for clearance. The second chance lifted off, its engines roaring to life. The sudden movement caught the attention of the bay controller. "Ship Delta 4, you do not have clearance to launch." A voice crackled over the radio. "Return to your dock immediately." Jiho ignored the message. He pushed the throttle forward, and the ship shot toward the open bay doors. Behind him, the Nexer were shouting and pointing. One pulled out a weapon, but it was too late. The second chance was already outside the outpost. "Sorry about that, Stellar Haven," Jiho said into the radio. "Emergency situation." He turned off the radio before anyone could reply. Then he entered the coordinates from Doi's data stick. The navigation system calculated the route to Havenwood. "It's a long way," Jiho told Nabi, who was now sitting in the co-pilot's seat. "But we'll make it." As Jiho expected, a ship followed them from the outpost. It was much bigger than the second chance. The word Krell's Pride was painted on its side. "Here they come," Jiho said. "Hold on tight." He pushed his ship harder, heading toward a nearby asteroid field. The Nexer ship followed, gaining on them quickly. "They're faster in open space," Jiho told Nabi. "But let's see how they handle the rocks." The second chance darted into the asteroid field. Jiho flew with skill, weaving between the floating rocks. The Nexer ship stayed close behind. Suddenly, Nabi let out a sharp mental warning. Joe looked up to see a massive asteroid directly in their path. He yanked the controls, barely missing it. The Nexer ship wasn't so lucky. It hit the edge of the asteroid, spinning out of control. "That will slow them down," Jiho said with a grim smile. But their troubles weren't over. 2 smaller ships launched from the damaged Nexer vessel. They were pursuit craft, built for speed. "They really want you back," Jiho told Nabi. As the pursuit ships closed in, the ship's radio crackled to life. "Unidentified vessel, this is Captain Han Mina of the Free Trader Stardust. Need some help." Jiho couldn't believe his ears. "Mina? Is that really you?" "In the flesh," came the reply. "Doi sent me a message, said you might need backup." A sleek, silver ship appeared on Jiho's scanner, coming in from the side of the asteroid field. "2 ships on your tail," Mina said. "Want me to distract them while you make a run for it?" "That would be great," Jiho said, relief in his voice. Mina's ship, the Stardust, shot past them, firing morning shots at the Nexer pursuit craft. The smaller ships broke off their chase to deal with this new threat. "Head for the nebula," Mina told Jiho. "I'll meet you on the other side." Jiho changed course, heading for the colorful cloud of gas visible in the distance. Nabi pressed her paw against the window, watching as the Stardust engaged the Nexer ships. "Don't worry," Jiho said. "Mina is the best pilot I know." The second chance entered the nebula, and the view outside became a swirl of purple and blue gases. Their sensors wouldn't work well in here, but neither would the Nexers. For now, they had escaped. But Jiho knew the Nexar wouldn't give up easily. They had a long journey ahead to reach Havenwood. Nabi climbed into Jiho's lap and purred softly. Despite the danger, she felt safe with him. "We'll make it," Jiho promised, stroking her soft fur. Together, 3 days had passed since their escape from the Nexer. Jiho and Nabi sat in the cockpit of the second chance, watching as a beautiful green planet grew larger in their view screen. Mina's ship, the Stardust, flew beside them. "That's Havenwood," Mina's voice came through the radio. "Follow me down. The landing area is hidden." Jiho followed Mina's ship toward the planet. As they got closer, he saw that Havenwood was covered mostly in forests. There were mountains and lakes, but no visible cities or roads. "It's so green," Jiho said to Nabi, who was looking out the window with wide golden eyes. They flew low over the treetops. Then Minna's ship suddenly dropped down through an opening in the trees. Jiho followed and found himself in a large clearing. Several small buildings were built into the sides of trees. A few people moved around, looking up as the ships landed. When the engines were off, Jiho picked up Nabi and stepped outside. The air was fresh and sweet. Birds sang in the trees. It was peaceful here. Minna walked over to them, smiling. She was tall and strong, with short black hair and friendly eyes. "Welcome to Heavenwood," she said, "one of the best-kept secrets in the galaxy." A man approached them. He had gray hair and kind eyes behind simple glasses. He wore a green coat with many pockets. "This is Dr. Park Jun," Minna said. "He's the lead scientist here." Dr. Park's eyes widened when he saw Nabi. "A Lunari," he whispered. "And those golden eyes. Is it really possible?" Nabi looked at Dr. Park with interest. She sent a gentle thought to him, a simple greeting. Dr. Park gasped. "She connected with me," he said. "Extraordinary." "Nabi connects with everyone she trusts," Jiho explained. "She's special." "More than you know," Dr. Park said. "Please, come with me. There's much to explain." They followed Dr. Park to a building that looked like a mix of a hospital and a library. Inside, the walls were covered with pictures and information about many different animals. "Havenwood is a sanctuary," Dr. Park explained. "We protect endangered species from all over the galaxy. But the Lunari, they are among the rarest." He showed them a picture of adult Lunari. They looked like large cats with star-like fur, but they stood on two legs and had hands with fingers. Their eyes were bright blue. "The Lunari were once a great civilization," Dr. Park said. "They built cities and studied the stars. They were peaceful and wise. But then the Nexer discovered them." "What did the Nexer want with them?" Joe asked. "Their telepathic abilities," Dr. Park said sadly. "The Nexer captured them, used them as living tools. They forced the Lunari to read the minds of their enemies. When the Lunari refused to help with the Nexer's wars, they were hunted almost to extinction." Nabi made a sad sound. Images flashed in Jiho's mind. Lunari being taken from their homes, families separated, cages and chains. "These are memories," Dr. Park explained, seeing Jiho's shocked face. "Not her own, but racial memories passed down through generations." The doctor knelt down to look at Nabi more closely. "But her golden eyes. In all our records, only 5 Lunari have ever had golden eyes. They were called seers." "What's a seer?" Joe asked. "A Lunari with the ability to see the future," Dr. Park said. "Not clearly, but in flashes and feelings. They can sense dangers before they happen. That's why the Nexer want her so badly. A seer would be incredibly valuable to them." Jiho looked down at Nabi with new understanding. "She warned me when the Nexer were coming. She knew." Dr. Park nodded. "And she'll grow quickly now that she's safe. Lunari mature fast once they reach a safe environment." As if to prove his point, Nabi suddenly glowed softly. When the light faded, she looked a little bigger than before. Her fur was more silver than white now. "The first growth spurt," Dr. Park said, smiling. "She'll have many more in the coming days." Jiho felt proud and sad at the same time. Soon Nabi would be grown up. Would she still need him then? Sensing his thoughts, Nabi rubbed her head against his hand and sent him a clear message. Always together, asterisk. Jiho smiled. No matter what happened next, their bond would remain. A week passed quickly at Havenwood. Nabi grew larger each day. She now stood as tall as Jiho's knee and could speak simple words with her mind instead of just sending feelings. Jiho spent his time helping fix the sanctuary's equipment. Many things were old and broken, but with his skills, he soon had everything running smoothly. One morning, Dr. Park called everyone to the main building. His face was serious. "Our sensors have detected ships entering this sector," he said. Many ships. Nexer ships. A worried murmur spread through the room. There were about 30 people at Havenwood, all working to protect endangered species. How did they find us? Minna asked. They must have followed your trail from the nebula, Dr. Park said. They are very determined. How long do we have? Joe asked. 3 hours, maybe 4, Dr. Park answered. Not enough time to evacuate everyone, and all the animals. Joe looked at Nabi, who sat quietly beside him. She had known this was coming. He could feel it in their mental link. We need to fight, Joe said. This is our home now. We can't keep running. Others nodded in agreement. Minna stood up. The Stardust has weapons, she said. Not many, but enough to cause some trouble. The second chance can fly too, Joe added. I can add some surprises to it. For the next 3 hours, everyone worked to prepare. Joe modified his ship, adding special devices he had designed. Dr. Park moved the most vulnerable animals to underground shelters. Minna checked her ship's weapons. Nabi stayed with Jiho, helping in her own way. Her mental powers had grown strong. She could now connect with multiple minds at once. Asterisk, they are coming asterisk, she told Jiho. Asterisk many ships, led by a captain named Krell. He wants me badly asterisk. We won't let them take you, Jiho promised. As the sun began to set, the first Nexer ships appeared in the sky. There were 5 of them, including a large command ship. They hovered over the trees, not landing yet. A voice boomed from the lead ship. This is Captain Krell of the Nexer Trading Guild. We have come for our property, the golden-eyed Lunari. Give it to us, and we will leave in peace. Jiho stood in the center of the clearing, looking up at the ships. Nabi was beside him, no longer hiding. She's not property, Joe shouted back. She's a living being with rights, and her name is Nabi. Captain Krell laughed, a cold sound. Humans and their foolish ideas. The Lunari is ours by right of capture. If you do not hand it over, we will take it by force. Jiho looked at Minna, who nodded. She was ready in her ship, hidden among the trees. You'll have to come and get her, Joe called out. The Nexer ships moved lower. Doors opened in their sides, and armed Nexer began to drop to the ground on hover platforms. There were at least 50 of them, all carrying weapons. Last chance, human, Captain Krell said, stepping forward. He was taller than the others, with dark blue skin and cold black eyes. Nabi moved in front of Jiho. She had grown again during the day. Now she stood as tall as Jiho's waist. Her golden eyes glowed with power. Asterisk now asterisk, she sent to everyone at Havenwood. Minna's ship burst from the trees, firing at the Nexer ships. At the same time, hidden defense guns that Jiho had fixed and placed in the trees began shooting. The battle had begun. The Nexer fired back, their weapons burning holes in the trees and buildings. People from Havenwood fought bravely, but they were outnumbered. Jiho ran to the second chance with Nabi. They had a special plan. Jiho had modified his ship to send out a signal, a distress call that would reach far beyond this planet. But as they reached the ship, Captain Krell stepped in front of them. You've caused enough trouble, human, he said, raising his weapon. Nabi's eyes flashed. She sent a powerful mental blast at Krell, making him stagger back. But he recovered quickly. A strong one indeed, Krell said. All the more valuable. Jiho stood protectively in front of Nabi. The battle raged around them. They were running out of time. Captain Krell moved closer, his weapon pointed at Jiho. Step aside, human, he ordered. The Lunari belongs to us. Never, Jiho said firmly. He had no weapon, but he wouldn't back down. Nabi's fur began to glow with silver light. She touched Jiho's hand and shared her plan through their mental link. Jiho nodded slightly. It was risky, but it might work. What are you doing? Krell demanded, seeing the glow. Instead of answering, Nabi closed her golden eyes. The glow around her grew brighter. Then she sent out a powerful telepathic message. But this time, she didn't send it just to Jiho or the people at Havenwood. She sent it to everyone in the sector. The message was simple but strong. Images of the Nexar chaining her to the abandoned ship, her suffering in the cold of space, Jiho saving her, and now the Nexar attacking the sanctuary that protected endangered species. Krell staggered back, dropping his weapon. He clutched his head. "Stop that!" he shouted. But Nabi didn't stop. Her message spread further, reaching ships that were passing through nearby systems. She showed the cruelty of the Nexar, the truth about what they did to the Lunari and other species. "What have you done?" Krell gasped. Jiho smiled. She told the truth, to everyone. Above them, new ships appeared in the sky. These weren't Nexar ships. They were human defense fleet vessels, responding to both Nabi's message and the distress signal from the Second Chance. And leading them was a familiar smaller ship. Kim Do-ee's voice came over the communication system. "Attention Nexar vessels. This is Security Officer Kim Do-ee of the Human Defense Fleet. You are in violation of the Galactic Treaty on Endangered Species. Stand down immediately." The Nexar looked up in shock. They were now outnumbered. Captain Krell's face twisted with anger. "This isn't over," he hissed at Jiho. He backed away, signaling his forces to retreat. The Nexar rushed back to their ships as the Human Defense Fleet landed. Do-ee ran to Jiho and Nabi, a look of relief on her face. "You got my message," Jiho said, hugging her. "And Nabi's too," Do-ee replied. Everyone got Nabi's message. It's all over the galactic news already. Within an hour, representatives from the Galactic Council arrived. They listened to Dr. Park explain about Havenwood and its mission to protect endangered species. They saw the evidence of the Nexar's cruelty and illegal activities. "The Council will place sanctions on the Nexar Trading Guild," the representative announced. "And Havenwood will receive official protected status as a sanctuary planet." Nabi stood tall beside Jiho as they made this announcement. She had grown again during the battle. Now she stood as tall as Jiho's chest, her golden eyes wise and bright. That evening, as the stars came out, Jiho sat with Nabi on a hill overlooking the sanctuary. Do-ee, Mina, and Dr. Park joined them. "What will you do now?" Do-ee asked Jiho. Jiho looked at Nabi. "Stay here, I think. Havenwood needs a good mechanic, and Nabi needs a home where she can be free." Nabi nodded. "Asterisk, and you need a family asterisk," she added in his mind. Jiho smiled. She was right. For the first time since losing his wife and daughter, he felt like he had found a family again. "The Nexar have been banned from this sector," Do-ee said. "But they won't forget what happened here. We'll be ready if they come back," Mina said confidently. Dr. Park looked at Nabi with wonder. "The first seer in generations. And thanks to you, Jiho, she will have a chance to grow and fulfill her potential." As the others talked, Nabi's eyes suddenly glowed brighter. She was having a vision of the future. She shared it with Jiho through their special bond. In the vision, Jiho saw other Lunari hiding in distant parts of the galaxy. They were few, but they were alive. And now, because of what had happened at Havenwood, they might have a chance to find safety too. "We'll find them," Jiho promised Nabi. Together. Nabi purred softly and leaned against him. Under the stars of their new home, the human mechanic and the alien he had saved looked toward the future, a future that was brighter because of the simple act of kindness that had brought them together. The end.